Hi everyone, I'm Joe and I'm here to give you a quick tutorial of Dudes on a Map's grid and scale alignment tool. So this tool will show up whenever you're trying to define the size of your map to uh, actual units. So you can use it on just the measurement tool side of things, but it's more interesting on the grid size. So the first step is to start the tool by clicking on the wizard button. It'll give you a done and a cancel button here, along with some instructions on the bottom that are specific to the type of grid you're trying to align. So the first step is that we need to define the top left and top right corner of a grid square. Um, we'll want to do that near the top left of the screen just to keep things as accurate as possible, but it's not critical that it's the very first one. So the first point, however, you want to get as precise in the middle of the grid lines as possible. So we'll go ahead and click our first point here. And I'm going to click with some error here to keep the process interesting. However, normally you would want to click right here to get it as exact as possible. So I'll go ahead and introduce some error into the process here so we have something interesting to see. So what this defines the scale as slightly too large, and you'll see the vertical lines that appear get progressively further and further away from our map's grid. Now what you need to do is follow the direction the lines are going across the screen, and you need to select another coaching point on the grid before the line gets too far away from the grid lines. If you select a point that's too far ahead, it will end up pulling the error out larger and increasing your scale in this case. So we'll go ahead and click back towards the center of our grid, and you'll notice the grid snaps back a little better. Oh, I've gone too far to start with already. So you can right click to remove a point, and you'll see here pretty early the error starts to get out of hand. So we click a point to snap that back closer to the actual grid lines, and you'll see it's not quite exact, and they start to get worse as we go along the width of the map. And what we'll want to do is simply click again to bring it back into alignment. And if we were to scroll backwards, we would see that the points further back are better yet. And then once we reach the edge of the map, we teach one final point. And now as you can see, as we scroll back, all of these vertical lines align pretty exactly with the lines on our map, and our scale has been narrowed down to this value here. And the offsets are based on our first grid point here. So we'll go ahead and call that done, and our grid will pop up and it lines up pretty much exactly with what's on the map. With extremely large maps, sometimes it's actually impossible to get this close of an alignment, and you may want to hide your grid lines so that the map's grid stands for our players to see, but you keep the snapping of your tokens. So real quickly, if you use this same tool with a scale instead of a grid, you simply teach 2 points anywhere on the map, and Dudes on a Map will record that number of pixels and allow you to specify how large that is. So here I could say that that width was 10 feet, and then when you do a measure, it will know how many feet or how large any given distance is based on that scale you provided. So if you have like a world map with the classical black and white map scale at the bottom, you can simply use this grid wizard to click on those 2 points and then use the defined scale on the map to align your measurement system with that. Horizontal hex grids, you do roughly the same thing. You click on the top left and top right hex point, and Dudes on a Map will figure out where that hex grid is. You do have to be a little bit careful to get the right row, an even row, or an odd row of your map, so that because the rows are staggered, you want to get one that's based on the edge of the map and not indented slightly. And then you follow roughly the same process, clicking these grid lines to help align them to the map. And when you're done, you should have some nice hex grid alignment that gets you roughly what you were after there. And then on taller maps where a vertical grid applies, instead of clicking the top left and top right, you click the top left and bottom left and follow roughly the same procedure to get a vertical grid of hex cells that way. And also you'll find on a square grid for a tall map, you follow the top left, top right rule, but then the coaching wizard will lead you along the height of the map instead of the width of the map, so that you can dial in for the longest distance of the map instead of the short distance. And all of that allows you to avoid all the putzing around of, tweaking this cell size and offset value to align with some of the oddly shaped maps that you might find in printed maps and stuff like that from books. So I hope this has been helpful and informative. Don't forget to follow the instructions down here if you're ever at a loss, but generally once you get used to using the tool, it should be pretty quick to teach a new map grid and should become pretty second nature. If you need some help or want to follow along with the project, see the links below for our Discord and Steam page, or just leave a comment and I will get back to you.